Hello my lovelies, my name is Lecka, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make a gameplay let's play video using Sony Vegas 19. So if you guys have never used Sony Vegas before, and you are completely new to making let's plays, then this is definitely going to be the video for you, because I'm going to be breaking everything down step by step like you've never seen it before, never touched it before, and you need to know how everything works from scratch. I've been doing let's plays for about 4 years now, and a little over 4 years actually, and I have been having a lot of experience with Sony Vegas. It's actually the only editing software that I've used, so I know how to use it very, very well. And to break it down, to make it very easy for you guys to come in, make a cool webcam that you want to, give it a border, give it a freaking fracking drop shadow, which I will teach you what all these things are as we go through the video. Edit it so that you have your webcam and your gameplay on top of each other, so it's not just a basic bitch gameplay and a basic bitch webcam. You're actually going to be having some cool stuff that'll set you out above all of the other tens of thousands of Let's Players that exist on YouTube. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get on into the video. But before that happens, make sure that you go ahead and lick that like button and subscribe, because it tastes delicious, it's free to do so, and it helps the channel significantly. So, let's go on in. First thing that you're going to want to do when you open up Sony Vegas is you're going to want to hit File and scroll down to New. And when you hit New, it's going to pop up a project here to ask you where it is that you want to do it. You want to make sure that the width is 1920, you want to make sure that the height is 1080, because those are the dimensions of the YouTube videos that you are going to be uploading. Same with the frame rate. You do not want to leave the frame rate here at 29.97, which is essentially 30 frames per second. You're going to want to hit the drop-down menu and have it go down to 59.9, which is 60 frames per second, because that's going to be what you want your videos to be in. You want it to be in 1080p, HD, 60 frames per second, glory. Everything else should be fine. You leave everything the way that it is. If you want to have your pre-rendered file folders be in a specific location on your desktop or on your computer, then you can hit Browse. It'll open up your folder so that you can choose a place to have it be. But for now, I just leave it in where it auto put it for me, which is fine, and then hit OK. You'll see that it is now a project that is 1920 by 1080 at 60 frames per second for both the project and the preview screen that we have right here for the gameplay that we're going to be putting in. Now that we have our basics for the template for Sony Vegas, we're going to actually put in the gameplay. So if we go to our folder, for example, I have a folder of my YouTube videos here, we can go in and we can choose the gameplay to put on it. So I will go ahead and pop in, for example, this one here, and boop, you just drag and drop, and it might have a menu come up that says, do you wish to have the project video settings match the media settings? You can always base project video settings on the first added video. You can if you would like to. This can make it easy to have it be caught in the 60 frames per second if you need to. We already did that with the project, so I'm going to hit no. And I am then going to wait for that to render. But while it is getting rendered into the videos, we are needing to add in our gameplay. So we're going to add in our gameplay separately. Now, if you're somebody who has their video camera and their gameplay recorded at the exact same time, then you're only going to have one track, one video track and one audio track to edit and do anything with. But if you are somebody who has it as a separate one, which I highly recommend if you're going to be doing gaming Let's Plays, then you are going to have a separate face cam for all of these videos. So go ahead and just pop in your face camera as well. Also, you're going to want to have your face cam above your gameplay. So make sure that you, if you accidentally have it in the wrong order like here, click and drag the video that is in this number 1 track over here down to the bottom so that it can be down there, and then move your face cam up. But now the audios are different, so you need to take the audio and move it down so it's back down with its gameplay, and move your audio for your gameplay back up. You can see that we have 2 extra things here that have accidentally been created. If you right click on the 3rd track, you can go here to delete track and it'll get rid of it. Same with this one here. If you right click on now track number 3 that doesn't have anything in it because it's empty from us moving things around, then you can go up to delete track and get rid of it. Because our camera is now on top in track number 1, because all of these are done sequentially, track 1, track 2, track 3, track 4, in layers like a sandwich, the first thing that you're going to see it from a top-down view is going to be the very top, the first part of the bread. So our first bread is our gameplay, and the final piece of the bread is the audio for the gameplay. Now, because we are trying to get these to match up, how you match up your camera's audio to your gameplay's audio is when you go to record, you say, I'm about to start the game, and you clap, because that clap will create a peak in the audio for both your gameplay and for your camera, and that is how you sync them up so that they can be perfectly in sync when you go into edit. So for example, I did my one here, and you can see that there's a little tiny blip right here, and you hear the clap and all of that go on in as well. Now both of these are pretty quiet, so I'm going to up this to 5 and to up the volume. If you double click on the volume of this stuff here, you can go ahead and you can type something in like 5 or however you want it to be, or you can move the slider to make it as high or as low as you would like it to be for what you want. I just want it to be at 5, so I'm going to double click on the volume here, and I'm going to hit aim with this one. I'm going to have my audio be 8 decibels because I want it to be louder than my gameplay. Now that we have it as a little bit louder, we are going to take our cam here, and we're going to move it until I can see these blips kind of line up. So we have this tiny little blip right here, and we have this blip right there at the bottom as well. And if you want to zoom in to see if the blips are pretty lined up, you can zoom in with the scroll wheel on your mouse. So you can see that the blip is almost on top of each other. So let's listen to see how this sounds now that I've zoomed in to kind of see that they're basically on top of one another.
I'm about to start the game.
That's basically perfect. So I didn't hear anything. You can see that if they're not lined up, for example, if I were to go and move it over here to be just grossly different, it would sound like this.
I'm about to start the game.
And you can tell that it's very, very off. Same with if I were to have it be slightly backwards, it would sound off like this.
I'm about to start the game. I'm about to start the game.
So you want it to be on there. And I'm going to reverse what I just did and have an undo button by hitting Control Z and Control Z again, so that
I'm about to start the game.
Now that we have that, we're going to go to where I first do my introduction. And that is right here where I actually start to say hello.
Hello, my lovelies. My name is...
So I'm going to hit the S key on my keyboard, and that will cut it. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense that S is the cut key, but trust me, that's what it is on your keyboard. And we are going to click on the part that we want cut, so we want it cut right there, and everything that you have cut, you want to have cut on your gameplay as well. So also hit S on your keyboard to make sure that these are perfectly cut together, so you can then copy and hold on to a track both of these. You just hold Control on your keyboard to make sure that this track is highlighted and that the second track is highlighted. Then hit delete. Boom! Both of them are gone. Now, you can see, since we've deleted stuff, we now have a whole lot of dead space, and there's about 50 seconds of dead space that we don't want. We want the video to immediately start, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go down here to the very, very bottom, and you're going to see this one here called Auto Ripple. Now, you could do Control L to toggle it on and off on your keyboard, or you can just click on this button itself. We are going to click on the down arrow pad that is next to the Auto Ripple, and we are going to hit all tracks, markers, and regions. All tracks, markers, and regions turned on with Auto Ripple, and you'll see that it's turned on when it has blue over its icon. Means that if you click on any of these, whether it's the face cam or whether it's the gameplay, and you move it, it moves everything together in one piece, boop, back over to the very start so that we have a starting point. So now at the very beginning of the video,
Hello, my lovelies. My name is Lecka. Today we're going to be going over the very frequently asked for raid Raptor version of a wonderful anti-meta deck to play and rank and have a whole lot of fun with. So if you guys are excited.
okay, and so then you can go on into your things and such and wow. And so that is the basics of how to do it. So if I wanted to, for example, go here and then cut out me sitting here not doing anything, waiting to do my other video, I can cut that part out, I can cut this part out, etc., etc. You can do that with your S key. Now I'm going to not cut in those parts because I'm not going to just randomly cut parts out of my video without listening to it first. But you can see all the different portions where there's some dead space. which you probably will have too, where I finish talking and then there's probably a lot of dead space where there's not a whole lot of anything happening. And that's probably a portion, yep, where you can see that I'm just sitting here, probably thinking of what I'm going to say next for the video, that you can cut out. So if I wanted to cut out that portion, I would go to where I stopped talking.
You control an Xyz monster with the dark Xyz monster's material. You can target 1, level 4, or lower grade raptor monster in your graveyard and you summon it, but its effects are negated.
And then I stopped where I said negated. Do my S key on this one. I clicked down here and hit S key on this. And we can see that I start talking again right about here where we see that there's a little blip on the radar of the soundtrack on track number 2.
Scrap Raptor is the...
And when I start talking about Scrap Raptor, so we are going to go ahead and get rid of both of those by hitting, again, clicking on this one, hitting Control, clicking on this one, and then hitting Delete on our keyboard. And you see how it automatically slicked it back to be right up precise with that without having anything in between? That's because we still have auto ripple turned on. If you guys did not want that and you wanted there to be gaps to put other things in because you wanted to add in other videos, etc., then you can turn auto ripple off by either doing Control L as the shortcut or just clicking it so that it's no longer blue and turned on. Now, by default in Sony Vegas 19, you will have a crossfade transition sequence. So right next to the auto ripple, to its left, you will see that it says automatic crossfades, and you can do quick ones by turning it to toggle it on and off with Control Shift and X. I don't ever do that. I always leave it turned on, and I highly recommend that for making gaming Let's Plays, you also always leave it turned on. If you want to do hard edits, and by that I mean you go straight from here to here without there being any fade in between, so the transition looks like this.
Scrap Raptor is the most important card in this deck.
You can do that, but you saw how there was just like a little bit of dead space before I say Scrap Raptor. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to scroll up on our mouse wheel to zoom in so that I can see what's going on here much easier. I'm going to take and we're going to turn auto ripple on for this part, and we are going to drag the portion of the other one into this one here, and you can see that it says now there's 18 seconds of crossfade. So now the transition is going to look like this.
Scrap Raptor is the...
And that actually makes it very smooth as it goes from one to the other. I made sure to stop the fade right before I start talking, and that is about 1.18 seconds of crossfade, which is really nice. So if we're able to get that in, it'll look, like I said, like this.
Scrap Raptor is the most important card in Scrap Raptor is the most...
So it makes it so that there's less dead air, there's less dead time, and it just makes it smooth so that you finish one thought and you go into the next thought and it keeps it going. So I highly recommend using crossfades for going from one moment to another. If you have a ton of dead space, like let's say you have 30 seconds of crossfade because there's just a whole lot of dead air. Let's say we wanted to cut that out. I would take this with auto ripple still on, move it back, and I would cut out a good chunk of that dead air. So for example, I would go here and hit slice, slice, cut, 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 delete those, and then we would auto ripple it back, and now it's only 0.5 seconds long, so it would now look and sound like this.
Scrap Raptor is the most important card in this,
which looks much better.
Scrap Raptor is the most important card in this deck.
So we are talking about Scrap Raptor, we're going on through here, and those 0.5 seconds of the auto ripple, now that we've taken out a good chunk of that dead air, looks so much better. And we have the crossfade automatically done because it does it for us, which is really, really nice. Now that's all well and good for doing transitions, but Lecka, I hear you saying, I want to know how to make it so that I can see the gameplay and my webcam at the same time, because right now I'm only seeing a Lecka on the screen, and to that I say correct. Let me show you guys now how to make your webcam look like a webcam that is on top of your gameplay overlays. Now, the way you see most people tell you how to do this is going to be they want you to go and click on this square that you see in the bottom right of your media for your webcam, and they want you to go to the event pan/crop page that'll bring up video event effects, and they're going to say, hey, I want you to hold on to the little squares, and I want you to zoom in or zoom out so that you can see the gameplay, and do whatever it is you need to do. You can also always right click if you're in here, hit restore if you don't like any of the things that happen, and then the box will go back to being perfect. Or for example, they'll say to hold on to control and then hold the control key while you push in on the sides until you get a webcam that you like, oh, I want to be a square, and then I'm going to move this up so that it's on my face, and all this other stuff, right? And then from here, if you wanted to do this, you could go from the event pan crop page if you're like, yeah, this square is cool, that looks good. You would then go to these 3 dots over here on the very top left of the track, and you will go down to the track effects. Oh, I'm sorry, not track effects, to track motion. I clicked on the wrong one, and this will pop up. When this pops up, you can mess with this, and it will make it as small as you want it to. You can move it around on the screen just by clicking on the corners. You can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, you can move it around to be like, okay, I want it to be over here in the top right, and that would be how most people tell you how to do the webcam. And if you want to do it that way, more power to you. But I have a much cooler way to do it that will add all kinds of neatness to your stuff, make it look spicy, and make it look much better than just this basic way of doing it with the track motion. And also it saves you some time too, which I think is really nice. We're still going to use this track motion feature, but not in the way of messing with pan crop. So let's go ahead and right click and hit restore box. And once we hit restore box, it puts us back at the beginning, right? So let's undo our pan crop that we were messing around with. Right click, hit restore, and we're back on here, right? So this is gonna be how you do it in a very, very cool way. This is the way that I do my videos. So what you're gonna wanna do is you're going to wanna hit this event effects button, and this is going to add a special effect to your footage. So what you're gonna do is go to soft contrast, hit add, and then hit OK. Once you do that, you are going to go over, and this is the important part. So you see, right now you see that it just kind of added a weird filter to that. That's because it just had like a ridiculous amount of extra contrast that it added on. And if you want to add some contrast, you can. You can do that for color saturation, whatever, diffusion of light. If you wanted to do that, you can mess with these here, tint, colors, all the different things and such and wow. But that's not what we care about. What we care about is this part right here called vignette. Now, in vignette, this is the very important part. Go down and hit transparent. Hit transparent, and then from transparent, it's going to make all of the sides of your stuff disappear, which is so awesome. And then you're going to want to have your shape. You can either be an ellipse or you can be a rectangle. For us, we're going to be a rectangle. You're going to want to turn the softness all the way down to 0 because we don't want any softness on the side. You can if you want to. If you want to have a slightly feathered look, then I suppose that you could do it, but I prefer to have it at 0. Now, you can see that there's a width and a height, and if you take the width down, you can now make it so that you can be at about, 40, and you can have the height be taller so that you can actually fit your whole body in here, and you can have a vertical, rounded webcam. Now that we have that, you can also choose the corner radius. You can make it a circle if you wanted to, or I'm sorry, an oval if you wanted to. You could have it just be a straight up square, but I love my corners being rounded, so we're gonna leave it at about here, and we are going to go ahead and leave that. Now that we have our really, really cool rounded bordered webcam that looks awesome with that effect of the soft contrast, we're going to go back over here to the 3 dots on the top left and go back to track motion. Now that we have track motion open, what we're going to do is we are going to take the very top left corner, we're going to drag it inwards to make ourselves smaller, and I, personally, for these ones, like to go up here to where it says prevent movement X and prevent movement Y. Just like prevent movement X means you prevent a horizontal movement, preventing Y movement means you prevent up and down. Since we are already in the smack dab middle of the screen, I don't want anything to move up and down, so I'm going to prevent Y movement just by clicking on that. And you can see that it's actively prevented because it's blue. Now we can only move it left and right. You can see if I try and do it up and down, it's locked and it won't do that, which is really nice. It only moves us to the left or to the right. And I, for my Yu-Gi-Oh videos, prefer to have my gameplay over here on the right-hand side, simply because that's where the least amount of information is. But you can move yourself over here to the left if you're facing your gameplay the opposite way from me. I also really recommend that whatever way you are facing, you have your webcam be moved as such. So for example, you can see that with the way that I'm facing, I am looking to the left. That means that my webcam needs to be on the right so that my eyes look like they are looking at the gameplay. If this was reversed and I was looking over to the right, then I would need to have my webcam over on the left so it looked like I was looking at the game from this area. So always make sure that whatever side you're on, you look like you're looking at the game, because nothing is more awkward than uploading a Let's Play and it looks like you're staring at the edge of the screen the entire time because you have your camera on the wrong side. Now, I promised you guys a shadow, a drop shadow. You're like, what's a drop shadow? A drop shadow is a shadow that gets put behind an image or a video that makes it have a shadow, just like it's being hit by light. And it gives it a little bit of depth, a little bit of pop, and makes it look much more spicy sexy. So what we're gonna do in order to add that to our camera one here is on track motion, you're gonna go down here where it says 2D shadow and check that box. Boom, you see the difference between that? If you guys make sure that you are watching my webcam here, when I click 2D shadow, but bam! Suddenly there is now a drop shadow that is put behind my webcam that instantly adds depth and dimension that we did not have before. And when you click on that 2D shadow, if you take your attention now back to the track motion box, you can zoom in by scrolling in by hitting up on your wheel, and you can actually move the shadow around. So you can see that the shadow exists right here, but we're going to put it back over with our webcam, and it shows you, which is really nice, an image of where your web camera is. So if you want it to be slightly to the right, if you want it to be slightly to the left, or if you want it to be precisely lined up with it, which is what I prefer, you can do that. I'm gonna go ahead and take off the Y lock that we had. That way I can move it up. And if you want to make very, very tiny, tiny, precise motions, you don't want to use your mouse to move everything, hit the up, down, left, or right arrow keys on your keyboard, and it will move everything up by just one frame, which is very, very nice. So we are going to move this so that it is smack dab in the middle, perfectly aligned with our stuff. And then I like to make it just a little bit bigger than my webcam, just to add it so that I know that it's around the entire thing, to add a little pop to all of that. And you can see that the colors here, if you wanted to change the color and you wanted it to be a red border for your shadow, you can. You can change it to be blue, you can change it to be green, you can change it to be white, you can change it to be purple, you can do whatever you want. You can have your colors be anything you want here. It's an RGBA kind of spectrum. You can do a color palette, so if you're like, ooh, I want it to be this exact color of yellow, then we're gonna do that. I honestly just prefer the straight black because I like that, but if you want it to be a color specifically for your aesthetics, then perfect, go for it there. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Lecka, that's really cool, but I don't want to do this every single time because I want to be able to save this and have it be easy to go back to. Well, guess what? There are these things called presets that once you get your camera to look exactly the way you want it to, you can save and leave it as is. For example, if we wanted to do this one right here, I could call this one test up here at the very top and then hit this little floppy disk for the save, and if I hit this, it would save it. I don't need to, because like for example, I already have a shadow webcam default that I have saved as a preset that is right here. It just adds a tiny little bit of dimension, a little bit of depth. You can see that if I turn it off, turn it on, the difference between the two of them. And I just like to have it that way. And I saved that as shadow webcam default and then hit save. Now, if I were to change anything on this and hit save, it would save it as well. And once you do that, anytime that you open track motion, you can just go to your presets. So if you close it, open track motion again, you can always go down to the drop down menu and boom, it'll be right there for you to automatically add. Same with the special effects. Now, if you don't want to make this exact thing every single time, you can also make a preset for it too. So you can say that this one will be called test, you can hit delete, call it again, whatever it is you want it to, hit the floppy disk to save, boom, preset saved. Now, every single time you go into soft contrast, you can go to your preset, like for example, mine has a webcam default. Mine looks like this. I like having this for my rounded border for everything. And you can see that these are my settings. If you guys like the way that mine looks, feel free to pause the video and copy my exact settings here. You're more than welcome to do that. I think it looks really nice and I like the way that that looks, but obviously change it to make it however it is you want it to be for your unique Let's Play and gaming videos. but you can save it as a preset so that you don't have to do that every time. So every time you come in, you're just like, all right, soft contrast, boom, preset, boom, track motion so that I can bring in the drop shadow, boom. And now that it's saved on this entire track, you do this before you start to do all of your cuts in your video, because otherwise, if you do this at the very end of when you're editing your gameplay and Let's Plays, you're gonna have to add presets onto every single section because it's no longer gonna be one cohesive piece. Like, for example, you see how we have this and we have this whole preset thing here, but if we go back to the beginning, now it's not there because we didn't add it because there was a cut right here when I was showing you guys the difference in the transitions. So I would have to add this exact same thing by going to soft contrast and going to my preset, webcam default, and doing the same exact thing. So you want to make sure that you do this before you do any cuts so that it's very easy for you to do as it goes forward. For the rest of it, you will essentially just go through, make sure that you're watching your video and cutting it as such. Now, let's say that you wanted to have the beginning and your ending be you as the full webcam scene. Well, because that's what I do for mine. You would do something like this. So if you wanted your intro...
Hello, my lovelies. My name is Lecka. Today we're going to be going over the very frequently asked for Raid Raptor version of a wonderful anti-meta deck to play and rank and have a whole lot of fun with, and all the other things in such a while. If I wanted to have that part of my intro be over here, so when do I stop talking about it?
But
without further ado, let's go ahead and go straight into this deck list so I can start explaining how everything works.
Okay, then you can see that about there, that's when I'm done talking about it, so we are going to cut both the top and bottom. Also, if you want to play and pause the thing, you can either use the buttons to play, pause, or stop the playback and preview down here at the bottom, or you can just hit spacebar, and that's what I use. Is when I want to play something, I hit spacebar, and when I want to pause it and stop it, I just go back to the point that I was at before by hitting spacebar again. That's gonna be your most used play and pause is with your spacebar on your keyboard. So what you're gonna want to do here is you're gonna run a right click on track number 1, and you're going to hit insert video track. That's going to do is it's going to add another video track into our sandwich, and we are going to click on just this video part. We're going to click it and drag it up here to the top portion. You can see it still has the effect on it from the soft shadow. So what we're going to do is we are going to get rid of this because we want us to be the entirety of the gameplay here by hitting remove selected plugin. And once we do that, boom! Now we are back to being in the center of all of this here.
Without further ado, let's go ahead and go straight into this deck list so I can start explaining how everything works.
Alright, and so there you go. That is going to be that one, and then whenever it is that I actually start talking about the video here. So for example, I think I probably start here. Oh no, I start earlier. Let's see where it is that I end up starting. Okay, I see myself moving over there, so let's see, probably about here.
Very first card that we have in here.
Okay, the very first card that we have in here.
Very first card that we have in here. Very first card that we have in here is...
Okay, so right there. So all this is extra. So we're going to take this fluff out by doing the control, the delete. We still have auto ripple on, so it still does that for us. And now the transition is going to go from here.
Explaining how everything works. Very first card that we have in here is the dragon...
to here. And you can see that there's a little bit of extra dead space and air, and I don't want that. So...
Very first card that we have in here is... Very first card that we have in here. Very first card that we have in here.
So I am going to take this, and I'm going to do the same thing of controlling and deleting, and now it's going to look more like this.
Very first card that we have in here is... Very first card that we have in here is...
And that looks pretty good because it's going to be just a very fast transition. I'm not going to do crossfading because it would look very, very weird for crossfading for something that's going from a full screen down to here. So do not do crossfades unless the gameplay goes from gameplay to a gameplay part. So for example, like this cut that we did over here, how we already have this portion to this other portion and our webcam is in the same spot the entire time. That is okay for a crossfade, but if you're going from a full cam to a partial cam for your regular webcam for your gameplay, you're not going to want that. So you're going to want to do a hard cut instead from your full cam to down here. Now, what I like to do is, in addition to having that hard cut, I am going to be doing this same thing down here, except I'm clicking on an audio track, and I'm going to be adding an audio track in addition. And I don't want track number 5 to be, or track number 6 to be on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this up by clicking on track number 6, holding it with the left click on my mouse button, and dragging it above track number 5. So now this has become track number 5, and this bottom blank area has become track number 6. Right here, where the edit happens, I'm going to add in a sound effect, because that is what I like the most. So if I go down here to music, and then we go to sound effects, I have a quite a variety of them, but I'm going to add in a swish sound effect for a transition, because I find that it makes it very, very fun to add in a little whoosh to instantly move us from one gameplay to another. So I recommend adding in a very short sound effect to transition you from your gameplay webcam to your full cam, or your full cam to your gameplay webcam. But you can see that there's this weird gap because we have auto ripple on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn auto ripple off. I'm going to hit Control and copy on my swish sound effect. I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to go back to the flushness that we had prior, because I want to make sure that this is all flushed up and that everything is good to go. And since we Control copied that sound effect, now we can hit Control V, and it'll put it back in here with auto ripple turned off, so that it won't cause any issues with adding things in here. Now on this one, you can see that the audio is right here for the swish. So we are going to line up the climax of the audio to be right here where the transition scene is, so that it will now look and sound like this.
The very first card that we have in here is
It's just a fast, swift little swoosh, and it goes just from one scene to the next.
The very first card that we have in here is the dragon.
And you can see that that added to the video and has increased the quality of it just by adding in that little sound effect. So I highly recommend that you guys do this for your transitions from major themes to another one. Or if you want to add humor into your videos, if you're doing a comedic Let's Play, then I recommend having a swish sound effect with hard cuts, because swish sound effects with hard cuts, or just like really short sound effects with hard cuts, work really well for comedy and humor in gameplay videos. Let's say that you don't want to listen to this at 1x speed because you want to edit faster. Then if you go down here to where it says rate and you right click on this little arrow that's down here at the bottom, you can see that you can set it to 0.25 speed if you want to look at something much slower, half speed, 1 speed, or 2x speed. If you set it to 2x speed, your preview is going to sound like this. You're going to sound like a chipmunk. It's just the way it is. But that's just how the freaky frackin' shenanigans are. And for doing all of this, you can easily go through, and you can do it at ×2 speed if you want to do that for editing to make your preview and playbacks and stuff go faster. But you can also move it yourself. So if 2x speed is too much and you want to do it, you can manually drag this to be whatever it is you want. You can do it at ×4 speed if you really wanted to. You can do it at 2.5. You can do it at 0.85. You can do it at 1.3. You can do it at about 1.5 if you were trying to get it to be right there. So you can adjust it however you would like to have the playback speed be as such, so that you can edit faster. I always edit at ×2 speed personally because I'm a speed demon and I just enjoy doing things as fast as possible. But you don't have to. If you prefer doing it at 1x speed and you accidentally adjusted this, then you can always right click, hit set to 1, and go from there. But I recommend trying to learn to edit at a higher speed for your initial rough draft edits for your big major ones, and then when you're going through at the very end doing your last check before you render the video, hit set to 1 and watch it at normal speed so that you can see and make sure that what your viewers are going to see and what you are seeing, so that you can make sure that everything is as succinct and stitched up as you want it to be. Lastly, let's pretend that this project is done and we want to finally finish our video. What you're going to do is you're going to go up here to File. You're going to go here to Render As. You're not going to do Export. You might think you're going to export it, but you aren't, because if you hit Export, all you're going to do is you're going to export the project file itself, and that's not what we want. We want the video to be exported as a file of a video, not as a project file. So go to render as, and what it's going to do is it's going to bring this stuff up. Now there's going to be a lot of different options, but the one that you're going to want to do for making a YouTube video is you're going to want to scroll down to Sony AVC/MVC. And once you're on Sony AVC, you need to make sure that you scroll down to the internet 920 by 1080. And what you're going to want to do is you'll see that this one says 30p for 30 frames per second, and you want to up that. So you're going to go and you're going to click on that internet one at 920 by 1080, and you're going to hit customize template. And what you're going to do once you're in here is you're going to take this frame rate and you're going to go do the same thing that we did with the project at the beginning, and we're going to hit double. You're going to hit OK. And what that's going to do is have one with a star next to it. And so you can see that this one now has an asterisk because we've adjusted it. And so if we go to customize template again, you can now change the name of it. So you can change this to now say 1920x 1080 60 FPS, right? That way you know that this one is the HD quality 1080 HD 60 frames per second that we were looking for from the very beginning, not the 30, because you don't want it to be rendered that way when you've done all this work to make it be 60 frames per second to begin with. I'm going to hit cancel because I've already done that, but after you've done this, you would, just like before, hit save and then hit OK. And now you're going to want to click on that star so that you can have it saved as the very first thing that you see when you scroll down onto it. So for example, you can see that I already have mine down here saved, my preset of that exact same thing, of the 1920 by 1080 60 FPS. So then we would hit render, and it's going to render your video from the very, very beginning of everything that you're doing over to the other side. Now I'm gonna hit cancel because I'm not going to actually render my video out, but then it would start to do it, and then you would just let your computer do its thing. Rendering can take a really, really long time, so make sure that you have given yourself time to let the video sit. Don't turn your computer off, don't close Sony Vegas, don't do any of that because you don't want to lose it, and all of those things. Also, make sure that you have set the preset of where your file is going to be rendered to. So if we go to render as, make sure that the folder right down here at the very bottom where you are going to have your YouTube video go is where you want it to be, because it's going to be a preset to, I think, some random file. Obviously, I have mine set to my unique folder on my hard drive of YouTube videos, and you can title this to be whatever it is that you want it to be. Mine says Untitled because I haven't saved my project even once to do that, which, by the way, if you guys want to save your project, I highly recommend doing that while you are editing. You come up here to the very top, and you can hit save, or you can just hit Control S. I usually just hit Control S as I go throughout my edits. That way, as I'm going through editing, just in case anything crashes, just in case my computer decides to do a kamikaze and turn itself off, just in case Windows says there's an immediate update that I have to do, I've had my stuff saved so I can pick up my work from where I left off before. But after your video is done rendering, you then upload it to YouTube and you're good to go. And that is how you do a basic gameplay video with making a Let's Play in Sony Vegas 19. If you guys found this extremely helpful, please, please, please make sure to click that like and subscribe button, because it tastes delicious and is extremely helpful for my channel and for our growth here as a community. I would love to see your guys' comments to see if this helped you out, what kind of gameplay videos it is that you guys make, because are you somebody that does visual novels? Do you do freaking frackin' reaction compilations to different shots and stuff that you've done in Call of Duty or in Valorant? Are you somebody who does indie Let's Plays? Are you somebody who does horror Let's Plays? Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your channel. Tell me how this is going to help you with your journey as a Let's Player, because I'm also a Let's Player, and I'm extremely curious. I'm a variety one myself. So, without taking up any more else time, I appreciate you all for being here, and I will let you beautiful people go. Goodbye, my lovelies.